morning, another day. This is a continuation of the 2000 Yukon LM7 5.3 engine. In this video I'll be cleaning up the valves, cylinder bores, and installing the pistons into the block. Well, I've never used this type of valve spring compressor tool before, but I gotta tell you, it does make it easy. This piece here just sets right down top of there. I don't know, you can put it either way probably, and then this piece here, they'll give you pieces and parts. I want you to see how this goes together. This is how I have mine. These two bolts that are hanging out right there are loose right now. They'll fall out if I turn it over. Anyway, it just, you can see this, and this piece here moves. I generally ball up a rag under the two valves I'm working on, and it helps keep the valves in place from getting stuck and going down when they are compressed. Anyway, it sits on top of the valves, and then the nut here, right up here, tightens it down on the valves, and then this holds it in place, these two bottom screws. So this is how it goes. One bolt goes through there. Just in case you've never used one of these before like me, maybe this will give you a little bit better of an idea how it goes. Anyway, what I'm doing is I'm resurfacing the valves, and I really need two hands for this. I try and center this piece right here, it says top on it, between the two valves springs, and then I position this piece over here on top here, not like that. Tighten these two bolts down there, and I'm generally good to go. Put a rag underneath the head where the valves sit. Then I just tighten the nut down on that one shaft there, and it compresses the valve springs for me. I use a pretty good magnet to take these out, keepers out. Generally gets, well, got them both that time. I usually get one. I also use petroleum jelly on these when I put them back in to keep them stuck to the shaft there. The petroleum jelly holds them in place. In removing these valve stem seals, sometimes they can be stuck, and I got to use a pair of pliers to break them loose. Once you break them loose, they just come right off. I didn't mean for that. That one, got that off camera anyway, that one just pulled right off. I just tilted the head forward and pulled the valve out. Sometimes the valve can get stuck right here at the tip, down in there, and so you might have to remove some of the carbon here very carefully. I have in the past used a small file to do that, just to get the valve out, but you have to be careful. You don't want to deform it too much. Anyway, there's a carboned up exhaust valve, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in a drill press, and I'll show you that in a minute. I put some painter's tape around the end of the stem to help protect it. There it is in the drill press, and show you how it works here. Okay, I'm using the drill press method. I have put these things in a vise. I've used Dremel tools, I've used wire wheels, which they don't recommend, but this drill press method is probably the best way. Put some lubricant on here, turn it on, take your maroon Scotch-Brite pad and get the carbon off. Do not play with the shaft up here. Leave it alone. It's set for a tolerance in the head. Wipe it down a little bit, see how you're doing. The object is to just get most of the carbon off you can. I think I can do a little better up there. Once I've decided I've gone as far as I could with the valves and I'm happy with them, then what I want to do is put some grinding compound on them and see if I can get that bad area off right there. Make it smooth again. This is how I put the grinding compound on my valves, about 4 places. Might have got a little bit too much right there. But you don't want to go crazy with it because it'll get all over and it's harder to clean up. You want to make sure you get all this stuff out of your head that you can, so it doesn't cause problems down the future. And there's some of the compound that I use. I'm using the drill method, and I kind of try and keep a steady speed on it. It's better if you got an electric drill that you can set the speed with, and then you don't have to worry about holding the trigger down at the same time. And this is what I do. You can hear the grinding actually become less noisy or less coarse. It gets smoother. Tells you need to check your valve. Need to check the seat and the valve. The seat's looking pretty nice actually, from what I can see of it. And then you can see the one next to it that I haven't done. Okay, the valve's looking pretty nice. I don't sure. Could probably do it some more and get that out. Depends on how far you want to go. Still has a tiny little bit there. Could probably get that out. Anyway, that's the idea on how I grind the valves. Okay, this is the intake valve. Can use some work, not too bad on the bottom. I'm going to clean it up on the drill press and then put some grinding compound on it. And this is basically how I grind the valves. I try and keep a steady speed. In and out a little bit. I fast forwarded the video to get through it because it was quite involved, and I did not show the outcome of a good looking valve. Anyway, I think that's about it. You get the idea. I did not show the valve stem seals being installed over the valves, but there's a little straw that came with the seals to slide over the end of the stem that made the seal go over fairly easily. I decided to put the springs on now and tighten down the springs with the valve spring compressor that I'm just liking the more that I use it. I always add a little petroleum jelly. It helps them stay in place, those keepers, when you let the tension off. I don't know why, but I like to do this. Probably not supposed to. Pretty close. This is a little outdoor porch area where I'll be getting the engine set up for for the Pistons. Anyway, what I'm gonna do today is I'm going to use this old school tool. This is a ridge reamer, and I got a very slight ridge in some of these, and I'm gonna go ahead and take it out if I can with this old school tool, and I'll show you how that works. The idea is to open this thing up enough to where it fits into the cylinder. It holds itself like that. Okay, it's in the cylinder. Tighten it down just a little bit. You can feel it contact. And then you take your tool and you just go around in circles. And you can hear the scraping sound. Of course, you should use a little oil on this. Oh yeah, much easier. When you can go around and you feel it smooth all the way, and normally when you're going around, if there's just a little bit of a ridge on the side, when you're doing it, it'll hit a little bit like that, and you'll know you're into the ridge. But when you go around, it's nice and smooth all the way, and you feel in here and your ridge is gone. This one's gone entirely. Then you know that cylinder's done and it's time to move on to the next. Well, I got the other side done, and taking the ridge off this, you can feel it, but it still looks a little stained. Right here, it doesn't feel like a ridge up in here either. But we'll see. I got this one, but that looks more like it's a stain. I don't feel anything. So anyway, a lot of times you go by feel. That's the best way to do it. The human body's fingertips are, if you read up science on it, are very susceptible to feeling very small particles. Continuing on, hopefully I can get some of this out of here. Doesn't really make any difference if you can't feel it though. Okay, next order of business is this cylinder hone, and I replaced the pads on this old one, so I don't know how good this is going to work. It might not hold up. But this cylinder hone is 400 grit, which is what they specify for a Molly type top ring. Anyway, flexible, and I'll be putting it on a drill. This is the drill I'll be using, and it's got a button on one side where I can plug it in and it just stays running on its own. Anyway, I have it set for the lowest speed, which is right in here. Anyway, my battery powered drill does not have these features right now. So my old electric one will do the job, and I won't have to worry about the batteries running low. I've got everything lubricated really well. That's about right. Sorry my hands are in the way. Trying to, the camera. And try not to hit the crank and break the stones. The people have the crank out, I'm sure. I decided to leave my crank alone. Everything was looking too good in here. I want you to see the difference in grit. These three right here, and the other side I had done already with 400, but these three, the only ones that are left that I had done with 220, I believe it was, on my old school hone. Anyway, I got some new blades for it and replaced them. Anyway, so here we go. These three, you can see they just don't look right. And that was probably because of the 220. And of course there's still a little residue on them as well. But over here, I just got through with this one with 400. And 400 they recommend for the Molly top ring, which I have. And my kit are on my Pistons right now. So you can see the difference, what the 400 is compared to the other. So got the #1 ring and a piston bore here, and I'm using a piston without rings. I just centered it up, pushed it down in there to get it centered, and now I'm going to take a reading of the feeler gauge and see what the gap is on that ring right there. I'm gapping every cylinder, and they're all coming out 20 thousandths, which is a little more than it's called for. I believe 16 to 19, I'm not sure, but it's a tight 20. In my mind, I'd rather have a little bit larger gap, but the rings get hot, they do expand, and like I said, a larger gap, it's going to get smaller when they expand, so maybe I've got room for more expansion. If you don't already have an engine stand that you just love, then you might consider getting one of these from Harbor Freight. I gotta tell you, this has saved me so much work and so much time. One person very easily can do this. It's just one nice stand. A little bit difficult to put on the when you get their cherry picker there, because it doesn't quite, it fits up inside. It fits up inside the cherry picker, but not quite all the way. So I use these little things here to raise it up a little. Anyway, it's just a real nice stand, and it's helped me out a bunch. And this other thing over here that I cobbled up with parts from Amazon that didn't fit, and parts from another engine stand that did fit, is just not the cat's meow that this one is. So there you go, the little tidbit. I believe the crankshaft is looking okay. Clean the crank a little bit more, get ready for the pistons. I'm using Marvel Mystery Oil. Put it in a little one of these Zoom oilers that I emptied out, and it's working pretty good for lubricating the cylinders. And I'm also putting it on the pistons, piston rings and such. Now this is just a backyard build. This is just going to be a grocery getter. I'm not trying for any kind of horsepower or anything. I'm just trying to refresh the engine. And so if you see some stuff still on the pistons and stuff, that's because I didn't get it off. So I tried, but it was more work than it was worth. So anyway, this is my backyard project, and I generally have pretty good luck with these when I do them. But I've never worked on this 5.3 before. This is a new engine for me. I'm using this made overseas. This is new to me. I've always used the old school metal piston ring installer. But if you use it with the writing like it's supposed to be, it's not going to work because the taper's this way. You got to use it upside down, you see. Was that intentional? And there's a tiny little lip right there where my thumb is. I halfway expected that to fit inside the cylinder wall or cylinder itself, and it does not. It just fits close. So you got all this slop around in here, but you use the piston skirt. The skirt kind of holds everything to the proper what do I want to say, setting, so to speak. So anyway, if you get one of these and you use it like this, you're gonna wonder what in the world is going on. Just turn it upside down, see if it works better. I pulled #1 piston out to demonstrate how I do it. I got my piston installer here, dot facing forward. Set it in the hole. The skirt basically holds it where you want it. I generally hold on to this. So I'm going to try and do this one-handed. And I'm using my summit tool on the other side when I got to drive them back to the crankshaft, as you saw probably. And I'll use this other one like this. So let's see if I can do this with one hand. There you go. I'd like to put my rod bearings in after I get the piston put in, because tapping on it sometimes, like old school, I really had to tap on it on some of those engines. And besides that, a lot of times I would be doing this with the head still on, so I would just got used to putting the rod bearings in when the piston is in, and it works pretty good. I'm able to use my summit hammer. Just, I had to get one. I just had to get one. Anyway, I can reach under, sit in a chair, tap the piston in. I've already got it tapped in, as you can see. But anyway, I can put it in and then reach it with this hammer. So that's a pretty good deal. Anyway, I can reach behind the block. I can see right through there. And I can tap that piston right up into the where it needs to go. Of course, I rotate the engine around to put the piston in, and then I'm able to rotate it around here to put the rod bearing on. So, you know, just go right up through here, right up through here, and then I'm able to put the rod bearings on, and one-man operation. Before I put the ARP bolts in, I got to put the ARP assembly lubricant on, and it takes two hands to do this, but I'm going to put some on the threads, and then don't forget to put some on the back side of the head there where it sits, pulls down, because that acts friction as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put these in, and then I'm going to put them down to 40 foot-pounds of torque, which is specified in the instructions that these bolts came with for this engine. In case you're wondering what size socket I'm using here, I'm using a standard 3/8 Craftsman socket. Putting these on at 40 foot-pounds, as close as I can get them. And I was using a 10 millimeter, but it didn't quite fit, and it did real good up until about the 6th piston, and then the cheap foreign-made socket sort of stripped out on me. So I've got all my pistons in now. They're lubricated and everything. The next order of business is to do a little more cleaning on this, very carefully, of course. I always do that. And I'm going to put the oil pan on then next. So the oil pan's next. After that, I probably got to take the lid off of the stand here, pull the flywheel, and do the rear seal. So stay tuned. I'm getting a little hoarse. The wind has come up, and it's affecting my throat. So anyway, till the next video. Hope all your repairs go well. Steve AZ 711. Can they drive? Bye for now.